The year is 2020. It is the perfect time to learn something new. Some already have. Some will take this time to self-reflect, or discover something they didn't know about themselves, like a newfound fondness of digitally sculpted plastic. Some poor blighters haven't found that hobby, which has led them to do something silly, like for instance, download a newly released Chinese gacha game. If I wanted to lose the respect of my figurative wife and my 2-year-old son who hasn't even gained self-consciousness, I would very much like to do it playing a game that doesn't cost my entire life savings. Genshin Impact fits that bill quite nicely. The chances are that whatever pastime or malpractices you've attended haven't been free. Genshin is no stranger to the odd lunatic emptying a wallet's worth of credit cards for the sake of prancing around as the next genetically engineered waifu, but if you stay your hand, there's some pretty solid leftovers to play with. As it turns out, making a ton of money means you can develop your gambling simulator into something a bit more ambitious. A teensy-weensy fraction of the sales appear to go towards a sort of game development power creep where the scale and quality of Genshin's updates improve with each iteration, and just when you think you're done with everything, they take the London Symphony Orchestra hostage to show off their swanky new soundtrack, along with an entire new region to explore. Whether you have been vehemently avoiding the game after seeing what the Twitter fanbase looks like, or if you've been wanting to get into the game but were warded off by the host of clickbait drivel that is the average YouTube suggestion page, this vid will be here to make things seem a bit less mad. I won't try to convince you to play Genshin, that will be pushing it. I am, however, going to dive into some of the mechanics that make up the game, all while projecting my own personal experience now and then. Let's start with the characters.
Like that's ever gonna happen. What a load.
You begin as the mysterious traveller, this little blonde person who weaves the line between intentionally vague self-insert and story-oriented powerhouse. Despite the grounded nature of characters designed to be as bland as possible, Traveller doesn't take much shit, and he certainly doesn't post borderline inappropriate coupleships on DeviantArt. That said, the most you're going to squeeze out of him is the occasional sassy dialogue, so let's move on to the characters you'll immediately swap the little guy out for. The characters who have groups of gacha-addicted hooligans screeching when their splash art appears on screen. In the overworld and in combat, you'll be able to show off all the peeps you've been given by the grace of Lady Luck. 4-star or 5-star, it doesn't matter because they all follow the same format. Everyone gets to left-click spam alongside 2 other combat talents, one that you can consider an ability, and one that is effectively an ultimate that charges the more you fling your powers at people. Additionally, passives complement these abilities, most of the time. As for the designs themselves, well, it's a gacha game.
Look at all these fucking ladies!
Hoyoverse has a whole bloody science team dedicated to creating the most alluring characters possible, which makes a whole lot of sense when you remember that it's their main source of revenue. If you're wondering where the blokes are at, you're gonna have to deal with Chinese beauty standards and the fact that they pop out the ground once every 500 years. The personalities have taken a turn for the better after the iceberg of scuff that was Genshin 1.0. Still, you can get a tad anime tropey.
No shit.
Character stories are a roll of the dice on whether you're about to see something compelling, or a 30-minute eye-rolling session where your mental capacity to click the mouse one button will be challenged. I see the characters of Genshin as both the strength and weakness of the game. Nothing as offensive as the grind, yet not quite as persuasive as the parts that really shine. Another element,
if you'll pardon the pun,
that I find equally double-edged is all the quirky ways in which playable characters interact with the world and its many enemies. Genshin's powers are granted with visions, given to those who have proven worthy, or those who don't want a vision, or those who probably shouldn't have one. Honestly, it's a bit nonsensical at times. It's heavily implied that there's a god up there somewhere playing eeny meeny miny mo with the population. Best not to think about it too much until more is revealed. Essentially, receiving a vision in-universe is to be damned with a tragic backstory and a funny hair colour. There are 7 elements, 3 that do not react with one another, and 4 that react with any element. The best part of the whole system is the fluidity of elemental reactions, and the different ways you can mess around with them to encourage build variety. I mentioned power creep before, with good reason. The greatest culprit of power creep isn't the occasional new meta-defining character, it's the wall of text that comes with them. Dendro, the nature element, is a complete joke in this regard, because it actually made me have to read for the first time in a few dozen hours. We had years of theorizing what Dendro would do before it released, so when I initially imagined Dendro as an element, I naively thought of vanilla things like summoning branches or Japanese bamboo torture, but they came up with an even more brilliant idea: green particle effects. At the very least, I'm glad they didn't make it like Geo. While not completely useless, Geo gets the least interactivity and ends the fluidity of elemental reactions in favor of a tiny shield or a small fraction of damage. A stupid comparison I think of sometimes is a scene in that god-awful Avatar movie where it takes 6 guys to throw a rock. It gets the job done, but then a single firebender comes in, does a backflip, and summons the wrath of Gas Mark 10 on the poor fellas. Geo seems like it's gonna remain kinda iffy, and it goes to show how the devs are stubborn as rocks sometimes.
if you'll pardon the pun.
Likewise, if a character releases then they're fucked. They're fucked forever unless the only 2 Genshin players who actually go outside wave a couple of angry signs near Hoyoverse offices. If they're released blatantly OP, then, yeah, you guessed it, they won't be touched because it means more people will spend to get them. Still, we've gone from back in the day where the most dangerous adversity facing Teyvat's horrors was a child to a whole range of strong options, free to play or not. Genshin is designed to be played with your brain turned off. It is, after all, in part, a mobile game. Once you meet the threshold at endgame level of gear, it's up to you to challenge yourself or make the fights fun because the combat is a piece of piss. Base combat may not emphasize mechanical skill, but enemies and bosses are becoming increasingly mechanical and cinematic, nicely portrayed with the Genshin launch day cube versus the upcoming Regions Ballerina duo, and a bunch of really swell fights that I'd rather not spoil. This gacha game could probably get away with releasing some fancy looking peeps and be done with it. Luckily it's not the case. Whoever is at the helm of environmental design and exploration must have fought back the budgeting team with a really sharp graphic tablet pen. There is no way they had to go this hard. Weirdly enough, there's a lot of effort gone into details that you'll never see again, like environments that take place in a short story moment, or the new farming domains they always show off during trailers, as if anyone grinding in this game is going to have their bloody eyes open, let alone to look up at the scenery. I'm not saying gameplay isn't superficial, you're not going to find good loot during exploration because gacha. Nevertheless, the visual design as you uncover the landscape or progress world quests is pretty baller. The ambience of Genshin is also masterful. To avoid parroting every Genshin empathizer ever, I won't blather on how good the music for this game is. It might not slap as hard without in-game context, but there aren't a bunch of people reacting to the OST for nothing. Traveler, our main character, is supposed to be searching for their sibling. So far it's been one big long bull tickle from start to wherever we are now. Someday we'll eventually see where this overarching plot will lead. For now, environmental storytelling, character stories and regional quests will lead the story-driven content and follow the traveler as he does literally anything but find his stupid sister. That gives you plenty of time to become an uncontested avatar of wrath before you face off the final boss. Leveling up is critical in the first place unless you want Genshin's PG goblins to earn a different rating on your lifeless body. Unfortunately, it's not as easy as gaining a few levels. It's not even something the whales can jump the hoop on either. There are many layers of RNG on getting a character, and by extension, the off-brand Gucci earrings to make your sword do 200% more damage don't give a damn how much money you throw at the game. If you're content with having mediocre stuff since combat isn't all that anyway, then fantastic. For some though, there will always be that itch to get stronger, usually leading to a 20-minute post-domain clarity where you wonder why you even logged in at all. Genshin is best played in all the ways that you enjoy, like making zany party combos or telling yourself that you aren't doing the event for the currency, you're doing it just because it's fun. I guess another part of the attraction is that Genshin isn't another live service game doomed to slowly dwindle into nothingness for the next few years. Each new region release really is a sight to behold. As for me, I'm hyped about finally visiting a depiction of France because it means I don't actually have to go there in real life. And with that, I think it's time I stop talking. I sincerely hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.